Long ago, in the land of Egypt, the Israelites lived as slaves under the harsh rule of Pharaoh. These people, chosen by God, were descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Though life was difficult, their numbers grew, just as God had promised, but Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, felt threatened by their increasing strength. He feared they might one day join Egypt's enemies and overthrow his kingdom. His solution was cruel. Pharaoh issued a decree that every newborn Israelite boy must be thrown into the Nile River. In this dark time, a baby boy was born to a Levite family. His mother, Jochebed, saw something special in him. He was no ordinary child. His face shone with an innocent beauty. And she felt deep in her heart that God had a plan for her son. For 3 months, Jochebed hid her baby. Every tiny cry and gurgle brought fear to her heart. Would the soldiers hear him? Would they take him away? She prayed fervently, asking God to protect her child, but as the baby grew, keeping him hidden became impossible. Jochebed knew she had to act before it was too late. With trembling hands and a heart full of faith, she wove a basket from papyrus reeds. She coated it with tar and pitch, ensuring it would float on the water without leaking. On a quiet morning, Jochebed placed her precious baby in the basket. With tears streaming down her face, she whispered a prayer.
Lord, protect him. Keep him safe in your hands.
She set the basket gently among the reeds along the riverbank. Jochebed wasn't alone in this act of faith. Her daughter, Miriam, watched from a distance, keeping an eye on the basket as it floated among the reeds. On that very day, Pharaoh's daughter came down to the Nile to bathe. As she walked along the riverbank, she noticed something unusual among the reeds. "What is that?" she asked her maidservants. The servants quickly brought the basket to her. Pharaoh's daughter opened it and gasped softly. Inside lay a beautiful baby boy, his tiny hands waving as he let out a soft cry. "This must be one of the Hebrew babies," she said, her heart melting with compassion. Despite her father's decree, she couldn't bear the thought of harm coming to the child. Miriam, who had been watching everything, seized the moment. She approached Pharaoh's daughter and said, "Shall I find a Hebrew woman to nurse the baby for you?" Pharaoh's daughter smiled warmly. "Yes, please do," she replied. Miriam ran as fast as her legs could carry her to fetch her mother. "Come quickly, mother. Pharaoh's daughter wants you to care for the baby," she exclaimed. Jochebed could hardly believe her ears. With a heart full of gratitude, she followed Miriam to the riverbank. Pharaoh's daughter handed the baby to Jochebed and said, "Take this child and nurse him for me. I will pay you for your help." Tears welled up in Jochebed's eyes as she held her son again. She praised God for his miraculous provision and protection. For a few precious years, Jochebed cared for her child, teaching him about the God of Israel and his promises. When the boy was old enough, Jochebed brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, just as she had promised. The princess named him Moses, which means drawn out, because she had drawn him out of the water. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by the luxuries of Egyptian royalty. But even as he learned the ways of the Egyptians, the teachings of his mother stayed with him. The baby who floated down the Nile in a humble basket would grow up to confront Pharaoh, part the Red Sea, and guide God's people to the Promised Land.